Hello and welcome to the Sands of Time review channel. It's your host Sammy Thunder here today. Today I'm here to discuss and review a watch that has been a part of my state of the collection for around 6 months. And from judging from the box itself, yes, it is from the brand Rado. For those that don't know, the brand Rado used to be known as Schlupp & Co. back in the 1900s. It was a brand that didn't really boast anything compared to its competition, but it was just a really solid high quality watch. Now, the thing about this brand and why I got this watch is that it has a very strong presence in South Asia, in countries like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and it was very famous for its model, the Rado Diastar. The Rado Diastar itself is a PVD gold case watch, ceramic gold case watch, and it was just a very flashy piece, and it was a very high quality piece. And in that country, in those countries, it was essentially had the effect of owning a Rolex, and that's the whole idea about it. The second one was when I first got into the hobby, I was really intrigued by this specific watch from Rado, and it wasn't something that had all these flashy characteristics. It was flashy in its own subtle way. Now, Rado in the modern era is known as the masters of ceramic, and I truly believe they are probably one of, or if not the best brand when it comes to dealing and manufacturing watches with ceramic. They are truly competing with brands which do employ the ceramic, such as Grand Seiko and even Hublot, in terms of their ceramic watches, and the level of ceramic, detail they put into their ceramic workmanship. With their Rado Thin Line collection, where they have ceramics in almost every single color of the rainbow. So let's actually just delve deep into what I actually got. So just a little bit of an unboxing. This model is actually the Rado Captain Cook, so let's go ahead and unbox it. So here we go. Let's get it out of the box and get out the ultra wide camera. And here we go. So this here is the Rado Captain Cook in the flesh. It is a 37mm with a 42mm lug to lug and a 19mm lug width. I'm just going to put this aside and we're just going to get the true unboxing experience. The price of this watch back then was 2,475 Australian dollars, and now with the Swatch Group price hike, it probably retails at around 2,800 Australian dollars. Now, what we do get in this box is a set of guarantee card. So let's just go ahead, have a look at it, and they give it in this nice plastic credit card format. It's cool. You can just register it online, and for some odd reason, they like to give you the instructions to using the watch features in the same style of credit card format as well. So, and yes, it's a limited edition. That's the reference number, and it's 1 out of 1962. And I'm gonna discuss more about this later. And here we go. That's the accuracy they quote. I'll talk about that later as well. So there we go. We also get this Rado cleaning cloth, unopened at the moment. So yep, and then we have the standard papers, manual papers in all sorts of languages. So I'm just going to put this aside and we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the Rado Captain Cook. With the unboxing put to the side now, we're just going to delve a little bit deeper into the Rado Captain Cook. So why did I buy this watch, and why was it the first Swiss-made watch I purchased? It really came down to the looks. There really isn't anything like this in the current market, especially at this price point. What do I mean by that? So I'll just have a look here, and you can probably notice a few uniqueness to this watch. The first one is the bezel itself is turning inwards at an angle, and it is a high-tech ceramic bezel. Also, we have here the domed sapphire glass. or should I say the boxed sapphire glass, and it's done superbly. It's done superbly well. Also, we'll delve in a bit deeper. I'll zoom in a bit and let's just see those domes and reflections and distortions really well. What we see here, and what people do notice when they do pick up this watch in the flesh, is that yes indeed, the dial itself is also domed. You know, that is really cool as well. So the dial itself is also domed, and we also have that the minute track, and the minute track is also slanted at an angle, and it gives an effect, you know, the Colosseum effect. It is really, really cool. I really do appreciate the effect and the way this dial plays with the light. Now, the watch here, in terms of mechanics, the movement inside is a C07 movement. The C07 movement is just another name for the Powermatic 80. I have seen this movement being quoted online as being a Powermatic 80 without a silicon mainspring. I don't think that's true, and the reason being is because this is indeed a Swatch Group brand, and it is unintuitive for it to have a movement that is lacking in that aspect of having the silicon tech within its mainspring. So that is the C07. It is a 3 Hz movement, so they reduce the beat rate to achieve the 80 hours of power reserve that we have here. Now, as you can see from the dial itself and the markers, we see that 4 patina. The lume on this watch is in fact really good, and hopefully I'll have a parting shot of this watch with some lume, with a lume shot. And I really like the vintage aesthetic that this watch in particular boasts. And this is where the difference between this specific Rado Captain Cook, which is a limited edition, and the other non-limited edition Captain Cooks lie, and it's in case dimension and the fact that they don't actually have the 4 patina. It's just the limited edition models which do. Now as stated, the dimensions are once again 37mm in diameter, 42mm in lug, 44.2mm in lug to lug, and a 19mm lug width. Those are the dimensions. The watch, as it is classed as a diver, a vintage diver, has a 100-meter water resistance. It does not have a screw-down crown. It is a push-pull crown. Let's just delve a little bit more deeper onto why I purchased this watch and what's really good about it as well. The attention to detail that this watch has actually is it's superb. And what do I actually mean by that? What do I mean by the attention to detail, and what other watch manufacturers sometimes fail to do? It can come simply, just on something as simple as the date window itself. And as we can see with the date window, I'll just zoom in, we've got a red date index, and it matches really well with the red background of the Rado anchor. That is really cool. And do you ever see a watch with a logo where you have a moving parts? Like this brand, is unique in its own way, and I'm surprised why it's so underrated, and I'm happy that watch enthusiasts are really giving this line of watch, the Rado Captain Cook line of watches, a shot, especially with this dial. Now I'll try and give you two different types of shots of the dial, one in bright sunlight, or I'll try to emulate that with the use of the flash, and currently what you're seeing now, which is in a decently lit environment, but not well lit. Now as you can see, the dial itself is metallic, the dial itself is domed, and it's like a brownish purpley color, and I don't really see this on the market, like especially a metallic sunray finish dial of this brownish to purplish color. And if there is, I'd really like to be educated on this. I'd really like to see this. Rado is one of a kind with this, and I think one of the reasons why this watch has a high retail price is because of the attention to detail they put within this dial. The way this sunburst dial is done is, I'll try and zoom in, is superb. It truly is superb. And I try to compare this with Grand Seiko, especially when Grand Seiko do their sunburst finishing, the champagne dial, the 13-step process. I would assume Rado has a very similar process. It probably does go through a lot of treatment, as they are known as the masters of materials, but it's not documented to the public. But Grand Seiko have actually documented what they do with their dials to the public, and that's one of the reasons why they produce some of the best dials on the market. So coming from the dial, not every watch is perfect, and yeah, I have not really shown you the back of this watch, and what I'll go on explaining now is some of the drawbacks of owning this watch, and why maybe it probably doesn't sell as many units as it should. So the first thing I see when I look at this watch is, it's a special watch, it's a limited edition, it's done well. What could go wrong? So I'll just switch back here to the case back, and we'll play a bit of find the odd one out. So essentially we've got a really beautiful case back with the 3 seahorses. It's done well with the matte finish on the back. But what we do see here is that text, 1 out of 1962. I'll zoom in a little, and that is a major drawback to me. When you're owning such a special watch, and when you're going through this intense process in producing the dial and all that stuff, you really want to have a watch that's numbered, one that actually means something to you. And I think that's it's very sad what Rado have done. I think they should number their watches so it can be special, especially with that 1962 number of pieces. I would really like to get a good number out of that one and give the watch a bit of uniqueness, especially on the market. Likewise though, Breitling have created a reinterpretation of a watch called the Breitling Super Ocean Heritage, and even with their limited editions, they have done the same thing, and it's priced at least twice the cost of this Rado Captain Cook. So it's even sad up there as well, and that's a 500-piece limited edition. You'd really want to have that number, and that's probably one of the major drawbacks of this watch. As I did mention, yes, the price of this watch, I mentioned was retail $2,500 from the tag I have here. $2,500, and that was a while back, around 2-3 years ago, and Swatch Group have actually slowly increased their pricing on their watches, and it starts to become inaccessible to people. However, I did get this watch at a mass discount, and I paid around 1,500 Australian dollars for it, and it floats around the market for 1.8 to 1.9k Australian. So it's priced all right, but we'll keep going on and why it's priced at that much, and if it should be priced at that much. And let's just look at the case, just slowly look at what this watch actually offers. So this is the case, the polishing on the sides, the entire case is just a flat out high polish, a Swiss standard high polish standard. Signed crown, screw down case back, 100 meters water resistant again with the 3 seahorse pattern, gives it a distinct look. And as you can see, the polishing is fine for what it is, but it's not extraordinary. Manufacturing the case itself, it's not a hefty price of the watch, and one would start to think, where does the cost of this watch truly come from? And I truly believe it comes from the use of the ceramic, high-tech ceramic for the bezel, and also the manufacturing of the dial, the hands. It's done superbly, and I think a fair price for this watch would be around that 1.5 to 1.8k. And the retail price is a little bit higher, but guess what, Swatch Group brand watches, especially such as Mido, Rado, Tissot, and Longines. It's very easy to just get yourself a 20 to 25% discount or even more. So that's one thing that I kind of disliked about the watch, was the retail price was a bit high. The second thing I'd like to discuss is the functionality of this watch. How does this watch actually function? And as we have here, we have a push-pull crown, and guess what? I can't actually. I just literally hacked the movement just then. I pulled the crown to second position. I can't do it with two hands. Not two hands, two fingers. I can't wind the crown with two fingers. This watch is a reinterpretation. It's meant to be the exact reinterpretation of the 1962 Rado Captain Cook, and this is how it was. It was a one watch that one person would wear, and it was an automatic. So they didn't really care about you needing to wind the watch. But essentially, the way you'd wind this watch is have your thumb placed here, and you'd use one finger, and you would wind the watch like so. A small learning curve and small adaptation you just got to go through, but once you do, the watch is perfectly fine. But that is definitely indeed, if you're going to create a recreation of the watch, and since we do have a high-tech ceramic bezel, so we do have a bit of a reinterpretation in terms of making some upgrades. And as you could see just here, that's another, not really gripe of the watch. It's just kind of another quality of life issues that ceramic gets a lot of smudges, and in certain lights it looks amazing, and in different lights you're exposed to those marks. Well, not marks, just those smudges, even after I've wiped the watch. I think being a recreation of the Rado Captain Cook 1962, I would have preferred if they would have made this crown accessible, and they would have improved the knurling on this crown, the grippiness, essentially, like they do in all fundamental watches. Now, we turn back and we can probably see why that's an issue, is because this bezel extends a few millimeters and gets in the way of you actually using two fingers to operate this crown. All that aside, the last gripe I had with the watch was the use of a 19mm lug width, and currently I've paired this watch with a 20mm Yema Rally vintage Rally rubber strap, and it's good. I can actually swim with this. I've gone to the beach with this. It works fine, but having a 20mm lug width, or even a 18mm lug width, makes it much more accessible to strap options and being a strap monster. But we got to remember that this is a limited edition recreation, and we're not trying to, we're trying to get a proper replica of the original. And if you don't want any of these kind of downfalls, your best bet is to actually look at the non-limited version, which are 40mm and 42mm respectively. So they are much bigger watches. They feature screw-down crown and even 300 meters of water resistance. So this watch here is for the enthusiast, the person that wants that small vintage proportions. Now, I do say small, don't be mistaken. 37mm and a 44 lug to lug wears perfectly fine on my wrist, on a 7.5 inch wrist. So what I'll do is I'll remove my watch, and I'm currently wearing the Seiko SNE 498P Golden Baby Tuner. It is a solar quartz movement. So I'll take that off and we'll go into wearing this Rado Captain Cook on the wrist. So here we have the Rado Captain Cook on my wrist on a 7.25 inch wrist, or near 7.25, and between 7.25 and 7.5 inch wrist. And this is what it would look like on my wrist, and plays amazingly with the light, especially that bezel and the dial. So what I'll do is I'll take this outside and we'll see what this baby looks like in the sun. So here we are outside here with the Rado Captain Cook, and this is how the watch plays with the light. And my god, it's a beauty to look at. And sometimes when I maybe think about regrets of purchasing expensive watches, when I do see this watch in the light, I really do get very excited, and it's fulfilling to actually own one of these. What I'll go through now is just we'll go through the bezel action of this boy. So here we are with the Rado Captain Cook, and just going to test out the bezel action on this watch. Very firm, precise ticks, clean, crisp ticks, very satisfying bezel, very accurate. Not the smoothest of bezel feelings, but very accurate and crisp. Lines to the dot. Now, my final thoughts of this watch, and with a little bit of a parting loom shot. The loom itself is really good. It's nothing like Seiko Lumi Bright, but it does the job. It does glow well once you come back from a well-lit environment. In terms of its longevity, it is standard super low manova, and it should be referred to that. It'll last. It should last you the night. So it does the job. It does the job well. And just on that, I just want to say my final thoughts. The watch, might retail at an expensive price, but if there is something you really like and it looks good, take the opportunity to get it. You don't want to go for the next compromise or what you think is a better value. You get what you like, and I think this is what this watch truly exemplifies, and what this watch has taught me as a watch collector. I'd like to sign off. It's your host, Sammy Thunder from Sands of Time. Thank you.